Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. Finally returning to, I will upload these two videos pretty much back to back, same day. Even though I don't think most people would want to watch them the same day. But it has actually been, I don't know, a week or so. Has it been? It's been at least a full week. Since I did my first video with this. Put the cards away, just got them back out. It's like I need to, it's just because I've been too busy, but I need to complete my thoughts here. And I really wanted to draw some cards also, just around kind of attitude adjustment. As I mentioned in the last one, that it's quite likely from other feedback that I've gotten that what I'm dealing with here is a past life issue, and I really see it in this line of cards in particular. But I'm gonna, which means, I'm not quite sure how you amend that sort of thing. But I'm gonna pull some cards around what I can do, strategies I can use to kind of undo what I see as a bad attitude. Or I won't even say bad, just problematic or complicated. Um, for me, anybody's ideal is that you see failure as something to learn from, but not take it on board as defining who you are or even defining your circumstances particularly, um, but as a learning experience, and then you move forward and you try things in a different way, right? So and I would say on the micro level, of course, I encounter that and deal with that and take, kind of take that kind of attitude a lot as a teacher. I certainly took that attitude toward the errors of my students, especially, teaching ESL, which is, you have to do it wrong. Pretty much, you're doomed to do it wrong. And yet there's some stuckness in my life regarding success. And so what I don't want is, I need to figure out if there is a reaction to what success is or what success looks like. If that's keeping me from being successful. I don't know that it really affects my attitude toward failure, except so much as to assume failure before fully understanding how to get to success, and so you just automatically assume failure. In this past life scenario, I could see here that there was some kind of theft with the Seven of Swords here. This is the Judgment card here. Some kind of theft, and there was nothing that I could do about it. And as a woman, in many cases, that could have been true. So that there's some kind of past life learned helplessness here. Or not feeling, and again, I came across a bit of a society issue, that it has to do with society to some extent. So some assumption that somehow society has put me in a situation where that I can't seek. I don't think it's that. I wouldn't say that. I mean, if I feel like there's a situation of injustice, I can turn pretty, um, whether it's myself or others. I can I can get my dander up. Um, so another thing, I'm just going to change course here slightly. I'm going to look at this. I left off my last video. I was seeing something else going on here as well. So I'm going to look at that here for a second, but I'm not going to dwell on it too much. There's a point at which when, I talked about that I was seeing problems. I mean, there's certainly, I mean, when you start your, when you start a reading about your relationship to failure with the Five of Pentacles, you know there has to be some issues here. Um, but I feel like there's a lot going on right here. And one of the things that I was seeing toward the end there, that maybe it's like the Page of Swords is a defender or a defense, is defending this helplessness. This situation of helplessness is defending it against this. And I think this, being the Ten of Pentacles, is family, maybe in family expectations or even larger social expectations. Um, and, part of this, a lot of times, of course, and I interpret it this way a lot of times too, is, that you're bound, but there's everything around you that could help you unbind yourself. However, this is a card of helplessness, more so than the four that we have here, where this is a voluntary retreat. And so, oh, sorry, yawning. This is striking me as this Eight of Swords here as being like my Lyme disease, and how that keeps me bound up. Not so that I can't move. Obviously, I'm here doing videos, but my ability to function is impeded in kind of in the way, that these swords are here. And it's like this function here, this defensiveness here, is aimed at expectations of work and wealth and success. And so kind of protecting this helplessness from these claims, which I'm the first to admit that makes no sense, particularly, yeah. So when I look at this scenario, what I want this Page of Swords to do, and I do see this Page of Swords as some aspect of my character, but I'm having some difficulty identifying exactly what aspect. So if I'm looking at this Eight of Swords as my Lyme disease, if anything, you would have to reverse this card, because I feel like if Page of Swords represents some thinking capacity. I would say that my thinking capacity is oftentimes kind of exhausted with physical body issue amendments, strategies, trying to figure out how to keep functioning, how to keep the level of functioning that I have, how to increase the level of functioning, what would be a next best step to get me from where I'm at now to maybe a better level of functioning, all of that kind of stuff. But by the same token, if I look at the cards that are in front of me, the page is preoccupied with the 10. The page is preoccupied with the 10 of Pentacles. And really, the page needs to turn around, not worry about this, needs to turn around and help this person, because then there's two of you, so to speak. Or there could be a unity of purpose, or there isn't wasted energy hacking away at this. And so, yeah, I feel like there's some energy here that needs to be focused back on the true predicament. And the true predicament is my health and, as I talked about in my last video, kind of isolation from society. So interesting. And I just needed to work through that in terms of vocalizing, because I'd been thinking about it, and I still don't feel like I've gotten it exactly, but I'm not going to continue to dwell on it, at least not in this video. I'm going to, I've got notes to do, some pulls on my relationship to money, my relationship to success, and who knows what will come from that. But I'm going to take a card from the Soul's Journey, lesson cards from the Tarot of Physics, and from the Sacred Path cards to see if they can give me some ideas of how to, as I put it toward the end of my last video, untie the Gordian knot here. Get beyond any past life stuff. Get this turned around, get this undone. Oh gosh, and look what came up. Self-esteem. I just have to show the cards, even though they're not scenic or illustrative of the principle necessarily. They are beautiful. Self-esteem. I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. And you know that is a really big issue that I have, and I need to do, I'm not somebody who like gets down on myself or doesn't think that I have skills, but skills in relationship to society, skills that society values. Do I feel like, my friends value me, my family values me, so I'm not down in the pits where self-esteem is concerned. As I mentioned, I'm happy to defend myself in most situations. Now I may end up feeling helpless when it comes to employment, speaking up in employment situations. I may have an issue with that because, and at this point, because of my Lyme disease, also relationships, but I wouldn't say that has normally been the case. But just because, I can't do hardly anything. I have a hard time taking care of myself, let alone in my home and stuff, let alone having a relationship where there, for women, are often expectations that you will help kind of greater than your share, we might say. Um, but certainly where it says and others, I get gifts that benefit me and others, or gifts that benefit others. That I honestly, I have a hard time identifying what those would be, honestly. And when not that people wouldn't value, like, if I were to give away free readings, I'm sure I would have a line, because I have in the past. But that isn't really valuing when when you're willing to, you're happy to take it for free, is that it isn't being valued in society. Um, and I do have a fringy sorts of interests and stuff. I've places where I have knowledge, or I don't have the stamp of approval, like a teacher certificate or things like that. Um, I was going to say something else and now I've lost it. And that my memory issues definitely affect my work right now. Um, and there are some mental functioning that I am seeing decreasing. So I would say that my self-esteem, as far as somebody employable or potentially successful, um, is being eroded. It is being eroded by circumstances. And since this is what is my relationship to failure, then if on top of that erosion, that physiological erosion going on, that erodes my self-esteem in tandem along with it, then when you have other forms of failure, um, often in direct relation to my health issues, I think that just erodes it even further. So I think this helped to pinpoint a problem. It didn't quite give me a solution. um, so let's see. This is the Tarot of Physics, and this usually has something really interesting to add. So what I have here is the Three of Space, which would be the Three of Swords, I believe. And this is what it looks like, and it's called Position. Three intersecting lines identify a point in 3 dimensions. Well, it often has really interesting things to say. But I'm not sure that I'm getting at this point. Clearly it's saying it's the intersection of things. That are creating a problem. An intersection of 3 things. What dimensions did I just say? Physical body, relationships, and work, or career oriented. And so maybe, maybe the self-esteem is the point. Maybe it's just the failing, at this point, there is some physical failing that is worrisome. And so I can see this, it's like I have to cut out the pursuit of this. I need to cut out the pursuit of this in order to take care of this, in order to rescue myself. Sometimes it takes so long for things to become clear. Because that is part of it's part of where I'm at, is I'm seeing this like developing into the Ten of Swords. I'm seeing this developing into the Ten of Swords. And the only way I can really make sure that I adjust this situation and prevent it from becoming worse is to cut out what has been giving me security, which is my work. Because I need to turn it around and I need to figure out why certain things in particular are going downhill. I need to be able to spend more time observing them, figuring them out, and turning them around. So I'm just moving on. I'm not going to dwell on the Tarot of Physics. Oh my goodness. Rites of Passage. It's almost like I feel like in my work I never get to a rite of passage. But obviously this is talking about larger issues. So it's 21, Rites of Passage. At the bottom it says change. And this is actually, I don't like a lot of the images in this deck, but I do like this one because you see there's a cradle board. There's a cradle board here, and the person is walking. There's my little pointer. So you've got a person right here who is walking towards this scaffold here, which is on the prairies. I don't know which nation it was. I don't know that all prairie Native American nations use this, but they would put people up on scaffolds when they died. So maybe, it's saying that I need to think of failure as a rite of passage. And to me, it is kind of weird. So to me, that's different than saying, that it's experience to learn from. To me, that's different than saying it's a rite of passage. That's more significant. Let me see if I can find it in here. She has a lot on each of these cards, so I won't be reading all of it. Oh, she has some short paragraphs here. It's called The Application. A rite of passage marks a time of some momentous change in life. So I almost feel like this is telling me that I haven't taken failures seriously enough in terms of making them an absolute change. Making an absolute change, that I keep falling back into a situation. So I've had kind of aborted rites of passage. For example, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that or not. But I feel like maybe with the failures, I'm being asked to take a more complete step away from something. And here I have the Eight of Cups buried under here. To take a more complete step away from something than I have in the past. If you have drawn this card, you're being asked to make note of the growth and change that is occurring because it will shape your future. The changes may be small or gradual, but you are changing. Unfortunately, I think I'm changing in a not so fortunate way, but in any case, the changes may be drastic and earth-shaking, leaving a sense of confusion, but each one is benefiting your growth in some manner. So I'm questioning this pause here is because I'm questioning whether it is benefiting my growth. But even if something isn't benefiting your growth, so to speak, at this stage of life, the age of 57 in my case, um, that doesn't mean that it isn't a rite of passage in terms of needing to leave something behind. In other words, that doesn't mean that it isn't part of the path to be walked, even if it isn't necessarily a path of growth. You know, it might be a path of decline that you're having to take. Um, so be it. The Rite of Passage card can also speak of need for a change if you have lost the magic and spontaneity in life. And boy, that has been so true. Only you can make the decision to change the doldrums to excitement. Well, I don't know that I need excitement, but I need it to maybe not be as flat as it currently is. If this decision is made, be ready to fly with eagle and experience the new freedoms those changes can bring. In all cases, change is the key. Remember, if the moment you are experiencing is not beautiful, recreate it and you will have initiated your own rite of passage. The words remake myself has just come to me. I don't know how that would look or where that would go. You know, when they talked about rites of passage, it's like we're all aware of this, right? That our modern society lacks rites of passage. And so I can see myself, especially with my health issues, you know, if there's no rite of passage at a certain age, that you're entering another stage that gives you another value in society. So we don't have that. And so it, I mean, there's the creative aspect. I get to create, I get to decide, but the and since we've tended to rely on the notion of like retirement, but retirement keeps getting pushed back because we're able to keep people alive and functioning, and so it's all based around work, and that just keeps getting pushed back, and so there is no validation for a certain age level and even a particular energy level or whatever. And I'm griping about this primarily because I mean a normal person would be able to continue functioning at the age of 57. I mean, retirement wasn't supposed to be until 55 unless you've worked for an organization for a long time. Then you get off at about 55. And then you look for other work, right? Because you can't live on the retirement. Or again, because some people remain very able-bodied and able-minded, well into their 70s. So, but that has given me, to remake myself. And I think that the remaking myself goes beyond like this moment. I think that it has to do with this line of cards too, whatever the past life thing that was going on that has kept me stuck here, despite the advantages of this lifetime, being, sent to college, all of that stuff. That I'm still kind of letting society, well, I can't even say quite society define my place. But I certainly haven't effectively remade myself, partly because I didn't realize there was a need to, I thought that if I did XYZ steps, that it would lead in a certain direction. And it has maybe a third of the way, but it hasn't completely. And so, yeah, remake myself. I'll make a note. But I think I'm finished with this video. And there will be others related to it, but they will also just simply be separate. And we'll see where it goes from here. It is the fool's journey, and we've got no choice but to walk it. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.